Good afternoon. Good morning, all. Sorry. Now, actually, we were dealing with the heat trans, some echoes here. Actually, we had done some part of the heat transfer problem that we were discussing, and we had created the geometry using a block mesh dictionary file. Then that was grouped, the elements were grouped into different cell sets, and that's splitted into different zones so that we have the domain now. And then we also come across how to give the boundary conditions or how to give the mapping between the patches using the change dictionary that's a dictionary file for changing the for giving the boundary conditions as well as for mapping the patches so that heat transfer will be occurring between these patches that's mapped by us. So that's what we had done last day. So I will show just the boundary conditions how we are giving in the change dictionary dict today, because someone might have missed the last day's afternoon session. So I will just start from the. Yeah. So now we will be discussing how we will be giving boundary conditions, how to map the phases, the patches for the fluid domain as well as the solid domain. So this is how a change dictionary file looks like for a fluid domain. Okay. So in that we can see um, we can see the patches and the boundaries that we can give for all the properties. That means for velocity, K, epsilon, temperature, pressure, etc. So let's see how we'll be giving the boundary conditions to all these fluids. So here is the place that we are giving the initial conditions. So in this particular problem, the initial conditions for the velocity is given as 0.1 correspondingly to the x direction. Now, we have a patch called min x, that's an inlet. So we are giving the fixed velocity and the water is flowing along the x-axis, the axis of the x-axis, and it's having the velocity 0.1 meter per second. So that's why we are giving the velocity as 0.1 at the inlet along the x direction. So that's a fixed value. And now in the patch x, max x, the value is given as inlet outlet. The boundary condition is given as inlet outlet. So this boundary condition will be switching between this fixed value and zero gradient. That means there can be the chances for this backflow. So when there is backflow occurring, it will be giving the fixed value that we had specified. And at that value, it will be forcing the fluid to go out, or else the zero gradient condition will be used. So that's why we give this inlet outlet condition. And then the fixed value will be corresponding to that value that we had given in the inlet. Okay. And then we can see another patch called dot star. We can see another patch called dot star. So that means if we are visualizing the geometry that I had shown, or that just visualizing the geometry that we had created yesterday, we can see that there are a lot of other patches also that's not mentioned here, isn't it? There will be please give an example for inlet outlet condition. Yeah. Because suppose we can tell that a pipe, flow is occurring through a pipe, and at the outlet, actually the flow is supposed to go through this outlet and leave that pipe, isn't it? But at times, while solving the problem, there's a chance that the backflow occurs. Okay, during this numerical iterations, there's a chance that we'll be getting some negative values for the velocity. That means the fluid will be entering back into this pipe at the outlet patch. So during that time, in order to avoid that backflow, what we'll be providing is that at times when this backflow occurs, by default, the value will be given as 0.1 along the x direction. Okay, value will be given as 0.1 along the x direction. So that means the flow will be forced to go out. Okay.
So the value point,
Yes.
the value or the 0.1 is actually the velocity value at the outlet at that
No,
condition, at the backflow condition.
yes. During the backflow condition, we will be giving the value as 0.1 at the outlet. So the fluid will be leaving the outlet patch with the velocity 0.1 meter per second. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
it doesn't affect the physics because we are specifying the pressure values. We are specifying the pressure values accordingly. The pressure will be adjusted at the inlet. That means the flow will be occurring from higher pressure region to low pressure region only. And that's why we are specifying the inlet velocity as well and the outlet pressure while solving the problem. So accordingly, obviously the flow will be occurring outward only, but it's just produced due to some numerical error. Okay, because this is an iterative process, and at some points, due to this numerical error that's produced, there's a chance that we'll be getting some values negative for the velocity. That's why it's producing backflow. And in order to avoid that, and in order to get into a conclusion about the I mean, in order to get the convergence, that's why we are giving this inlet outlet condition so that readily this value, the negative value that we are getting at the end of the iteration, at that particular iteration will be assigned as 0.1 meter per second as the default. So that there won't be any backflow. Okay, so that it won't affect the physics. So now we were discussing about the third one. We were discussing about the third one, that's dot star. What is that dot star? Dot star means all the other patches that I had not mentioned here. Okay, we have an air cavity, and that air cavity, we have an air cavity, and that air cavity has patches on all its sides, isn't it? And but I had named only two patches there, min X and max X. That's the inlet and outlet patch. We have all other patches like max Z will be there on the top. Then on the front end and back end, there will be min Y and max Y. There's other patches over there. And on the bottom, we will be having the patches that's mapped with the left solid, then mapped with the heater, and with the right solid. So what we need to do, do we want to name all the patches? Because it's a fluid flow problem in that particular domain. So all the other patches should be assigned as wall while we are giving the velocity boundary condition. So do I want to name all these patches? It become a tedious task, isn't it? If we are going to name all the patches that we have in all the domains. So in order to avoid that we are giving the command as dot star inside double quotes. Okay, so that means all the other patches that I had not mentioned here. All the other patches that I had not mentioned here. That's what it means. And since that's a no slip condition, we are giving the fixed value as 0, 0, 0 in all the three coordinates. Okay. Now, moving on to the third one. It's showing that air cavity 2 dash. That, what does that mean? It means that the geometry, the fluid region is being mapped. The fluid region is being mapped with the left solid, right solid, and the heater. Okay. So there it shows some relations over there yeah, that might not be used in our velocity case. That will be used only in the case of temperature. Anyways, that I am specifying here also. Air cavity to heater, air cavity to left solid, air cavity to right solid. So we have three patches, and these three patches are the mapped faces, and I am also giving the boundary condition as fixed value. I am also giving the boundary condition as fixed value for these patches because they are also walls. Okay. Now, while moving downwards, we can see one second, please.
Sir, but in this case, our dot star and so that already has selected all the other faces, including this air cavity to the other this thing also, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
So it will overwrite. So basically, initially it was for all. Then we are selecting this air cavity to those separate patches. We are selecting again and giving.
Again, yes, again I am giving that value. So that it will be overwriting that.
Okay.
So this dot star will be having the least priority. Okay, dot star will be having the least priority. So first of all, we are giving some patches, naming the patches directly. So that will be gone at the first. Then we will be comparing this whether there is any mapped pieces. So in that mapped piece itself, I can specify as air cavity to heater in one boundary condition. Then I am specifying as air cavity to dot star. So that means as a first priority, that particular boundary condition, air cavity to heater, that will be assigned. And now we have two more patches that's remaining. air cavity to left solid and air cavity to right solid. So that will be assigned the second boundary condition that I am assigning under air cavity to dot star. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So now moving on to the temperature field. Yeah. So in the internal field, we can give the value as 300. That's a value that we are giving as the default throughout the field in the fluid domain. And in the min-x, that means at the inlet, the fluid is entering at a temperature 300 Kelvin. Then we are specifying inlet outlet condition again. And the inlet value is given as the 300 Kelvin. And the outlet value also given as 300 Kelvin. That's a default value. But what happens is that at the case of backflow, occurring, we will be assigning the value, this 0.1 meter per second. That's the value corresponding to inlet. And at that time, the temperature of that particular fluid that's forced to go out will be having the temperature 300 Kelvin. Okay, except that all the other fluid particles that's leaving the outlet domain will be having the temperature that's calculated accordingly. Okay. Now, coming to dot star, that means all the other patches that we had not described here will be, the temperature of that particular field will be calculated accordingly. Then in the case of air cavity to heater, here we can see that a particular patch is being mapped. Okay, a particular patch is being mapped, that's air cavity to heater. So we are not mapping any other patches in this particular problem. That means the heat transfer is occurring only through this particular patch. Okay, just I am mapping the heater and the air cavity only. There I am specifying that we have a convection and a conduction, heat transfer is there. So we need to take into consideration that, and we need to calculate the thermal conductivity. That's the kappa method that we are using here. Then value also we are specifying. We are giving the value as 1000 Kelvin. So that's what we are doing here. So that means the heat transfer will be occurring only between this air cavity and the heater. Okay. All the other patches is assigned under dot star. Yeah. Now we can move on to epsilon. That's min x. At the inlet, we are giving the fixed value. Then max x, we are specifying the value as outlet, inlet, outlet boundary condition. Then all the other patches that's been assigned as the wall, and it's using epsilon wall function to calculate the value for epsilon. So similar to that, we can calculate the value for K also. KQR wall function is there. Then now comes to the pressure, P minus rho GH. So we are eliminating the hydrostatic pressure from the total pressure. So that we are specifying that value. We are specifying the value as fixed value, the fixed value that's being given as uniform, and that value is 10 raised to 5. Okay, so that's the atmospheric pressure that we are giving over, sorry, the gauge pressure that we are giving over there. It's a 1 bar. So 1 bar gauge pressure is being given in this particular case. And in the second one, we are specifying the value as fixed flux pressure for all the patches. That means the boundary condition adjusts the pressure gradient such that the flux or the boundary is specified at the velocity boundary condition. Okay, that means the value that we are assigned in the outlet value will be taken as the default and it will be adjusted accordingly. So that's what we are specifying, this fixed flux pressure for all the walls, and the inlet also we are specifying that. So it will be calculated accordingly. Okay, so it's not the fixed value, that will be just calculating accordingly in order that there's a flow. And now comes the pressure. So that's a total pressure value. So we need to calculate that one because we don't know what will be the hydrostatic effect on this pressure, because we are given the direction of the gravity also. And then it has the effect also. It has the effect on heat transfer also because in this particular problem the velocity is very low and we have a cavity over there. So mostly some of the water gets trapped in that cavity and slowly it will be getting heated up due to the heat transfer from the heater. So what happens? The density of the water gets, sorry, in this particular problem, it's air. So the density of the air gets reduced and it starts rising up. So there will be a buoyant effect also. So we also need to look into that, isn't it? So altogether, this pressure term will be different at different points, so that we need to calculate the pressure. We need to take the hydrostatic pressure also into account in these cases. So that's why we are giving all patches. We don't know the pressure of outlet, inlet, anything we don't know. Just we are specifying the outlet pressure without considering the hydrostatic pressure gradient. Okay. So we are calculating here. So that's about the boundary conditions and the mapping the patches that we have done. We are going to do in the case of this fluid domain. Now next we can move on to change dictionary file for solids. So in this one we can see a small patch named boundary. So while giving this boundary, we need to take into consideration what the all patches that is going to enclose this boundary. So for example, if we are looking to a left solid, if you are looking to a left solid, what all are the patches? Can anyone just comment? What all will be the patches that's enclosing a left solid? The boundaries, that should be the boundaries of the block mesh that we had created. So what all boundaries of the block mesh is being shared by this left solid?
Heater, heater and water cavity.
No, I'm asking about the boundary patches of the block mesh. That means we will be having some patches like min x, max x, min y,
Okay.
max y. So that means the correspondingly the minimum and the maximum phases perpendicular
Yeah.
to the x-axis.
Maxus is the boundary with the heater.
Max x, no. No, but actually the heater is in the middle, isn't it? So on
Yeah,
the
you're
left,
asking
on the yeah, I'm asking about the left solid. I'm asking about the left solid. What all patches of the block mesh are being shared?
From the direction, minimum to maximum is the direction. There will be one connection.
Yeah, there will be one min Z will be there at the bottom of the left solid. On the bottom of the left solid, it will be having the same boundary as the block mesh. So it can be called as min Z. Then,
then min x.
yes, min X will be there. Yes, you're right. Then what about x-axis?
Y
Heater
axis
and
min and max.
Yes, both min Y and max Y will be there. Yes. So while moving on to all these solids, we need to get into consideration all these boundaries. What all boundaries should be there? Okay. So we need to specify that. So in this we can see one min Y and min Z is here. So accordingly, we need to look into all the geometries. So now we can take an example for heater also. What should be the patches that is being shared in the case of heater?
Min z,
Min
min y,
Z,
max
yes.
y.
Yes, min Y and max Y, only three. Yes, that's it. So I hope everyone might have understood what we are discussing now. So accordingly, we need to give all the boundaries. So we will be coming into a detail while we are doing hands-on. Now moving on to the temperature, because the only thing that we want to specify here is the temperature. So what would be the value for temperature here? I think this is an example for the heater. Yes, this is the change dictionary for the heater. And here, so we should remember one thing. I had only mapped this air cavity and heater. So while giving the boundary condition, we should only map that one. Or else here there will be some heat transfer between this left solid and right solid occurring. Okay. So Here that should be specific, or else we will be misleading. So what I am giving is that I am just mapping only this heater to air cavity. Then I am giving the boundary condition for the heat transfer to occur. That means we will be calculating the conduction and convection. I am coupling this fluid and solid region thermally. And here for calculating the thermal conductivity, we can see solid thermo model is being used because that's a solid. So we are going to calculate the solid thermo using solid thermo model for calculating the K value. Then the temperature is also given as 1000 Kelvin. Then here the name of the field is given as temperature. We can give flux also. We can give heat flux also. So here we are just giving the temperature. And all the other patches just I am giving us 1000. All the other patches that I am giving us 1000. So that means all the boundaries of the heater will be having the temperature 1000. And in the uniform field also, I am giving the value of 1000. That means all the internal field will be given uniformly 1000. Okay, so everywhere inside the heater at the boundaries, the value will be 1000. Okay, so the heater is having the 1000 Kelvin, but the only heat transfer will be occurring between this heater and air cavity because we didn't map any other phases. But still it's coming in contact with the left solid and right solid, isn't it? So those boundaries will be acting as an insulated boundary. Okay, this left solid and right solid will not get heated up. So that's what. Yes.
When we define the air cavity, we like air cavity to dot star. We had the mention for temperature. So we have again. This is the same boundary. So do we have to again define it in for heater also?
Yeah, we need to define because that's another domain. Okay.
Okay.
In the
Okay.
early case, this was for the case of fluid domain, that's air cavity. Here we had mentioned that air cavity to heater. Now we need to mention that in the heater domain, we need to mention that heater to air cavity. That means we are creating a relation between these two patches.
Okay.
Okay.
So for each domain, all the patches should be mentioned basically.
Yes. Basically, we need to mention all the patches. So in this particular problem, we are not mentioning about the mapping of the left solid and right solid because that we need to act as an insulation boundary, or else we can mention that also, so that there will be heat transfer between this heater to left solid and heater to right solid will be there. Yeah. So that's it. That's just brief about how we are going to give these boundary conditions. So now let's stop this one and we can move on to the hands-on part. So you can open your case file. So yesterday we had already edited the water cavity region in the change dictionary dict. So I will show that just once more. See here we had given the internal field as 0.1. meter per second in the x direction. That's the initial condition that we are giving. Then in the min x, that's we are giving us a fixed value, that's at the inlet. So that's being given as 0.1. Then at the max at x, we are giving an inlet outlet condition. So value is given as 0. So it will be calculated accordingly. And all the other patches that we are giving it as dot star. And while scrolling down, we can see
Sure.
sorry. So now we can go to the temperature field where we are giving the value as uniform 300.
One
Uniform
doubt.
300. Yes.
That is for velocity case,
Yes.
for inlet outlet condition, we have input the value, inlet value is uniform 000. So whether do we want to mention the backflow consideration, we want to consider the backflow case.
Yeah, because we are already mentioning that it's an inlet outlet condition. We are mentioning that it's an inlet outlet condition. And we have specified the value for the inlet. Okay. So at times when the backflow means the entire fluid will not be coming back to that particular water cavity. At least one or two regions only, one or two elements or say few elements, less than 100 or 10 elements will be this backflow occurring. So at that time when the backflow is occurring, all those elements or at all those points, what happens is that it will be assigning the value that we had specified at the inlet. Okay,
So, but it is not mentioned in the code now, because the maximum x value, it is inlet outlet value is uniform 000.
yes, but I am mentioning that in the inlet, isn't it? Inlet we can see that it's a fixed value and the value is given as 0.1.
Okay.
Okay, so when the backflow is occurring, backflow is occurring, it will be checking the initial boundary conditions that we had given in the inlet, and that will be assigning the value automatically. Okay, so rest of all the elements, it will be calculating the outlet value for the velocity. Okay, so we don't want to specify this outlet velocity because it should be calculated according to the pressure values that we have given. So that's why we are not mentioning that value. It's just given as 000. You can give it as 0.1 also, it doesn't matter because that will be changing at the second iteration cell. For the first iteration, it will be assigning the value that we are giving. Then on the next iteration, it will be changing the value. So there is nothing meaning giving all those values over. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So now moving on to this pressure field. We can see that Sorry, we were discussing about the temperature field. Sorry. We were discussing about the temperature field. In the temperature field, the temperature field, the value is given as 300 Kelvin in all the internal fields. And then we have the minutes. So already we had given the value for the inlet condition as 300 Kelvin. Then at the outlet also it's being given as 300 Kelvin. But that's not the fixed value that we need to calculate that. So that depends on the heat transfer rate between this heater and the water cavity. Then all the other patches we are giving it as zero gradient and the value is given as uniform uniform 300 is given. So then I am mapping other phases also, the other patches, that means the air cavity to dot star. Okay. So see, in this case I am making a difference. I am just mapping all the boundaries that shared by this water cavity. Okay. So that's a major difference that we are doing when comparing with the presentation that I had shown. So that means here there will be heat transfer between the left solid, right solid, and heater. Okay. So just we want to we want to run the solution very fast. We want to just look into the heat transfer how this is occurring. So that's why. And then, so by looking the temperature field, we can see that this second. Yeah. So by looking at the temperature field, we can see that we are giving the value as water cavity to dot star. Okay, water cavity to dot star. That means water cavity to heater, water cavity to left solid, then water cavity to right solid. We are specifying that the heat transfer is occurring, and I am coupling the fluid and solid parts and specifying the temperature as 1000 Kelvin. Okay, so here the temperature is given as 1000 Kelvin. Now, moving on to the epsilon and also that's just similar to what I had shown in the presentation. Nothing much difference here. Okay, so now we can move on to the next one. So here we are giving the pressure as 0. That means we are giving the atmospheric pressure at the outlet. Okay, in the P minus OGH section, we are giving the pressure as 0. That means it's same as the atmospheric pressure. Okay, we are not mentioning a higher pressure here. Okay, now we can move on to solid domains. Now we can look into one by one. Let's see heater. In change dictionary, yeah, we can see some default boundaries are here, but we need to change that one. So what should be the values for this heater? Yeah, what should be the values for heater? It should be min Z. We have a boundary with the block mesh, min Z, then min Y and max Y. Okay. So please give the values as min Y, min Z and max Y. Okay. So these are the three boundary conditions that's being given. So please edit in your key. So these are the only three patches that's been shared. Now, while moving on to the temperature field that we need to specify here, isn't it? So we need to edit here also. I am giving internal field. I am giving internal field at all the boundaries as 1000 Kelvin. Okay, the internal field, the initial condition is being given as 1000 Kelvin at all the throughout that mesh. Then at the boundary field also we can specify the value of 1000 Kelvin. Then heater to all the patches. Okay, here we are not constraining the heat transfer between only this water cavity and heater. We are just allowing everywhere the heat transfer to occur. But we are more or less we are just saying the value as uniform to all these patches. Okay. So it's just for getting the solution quickly. That's all. Okay. So this I am giving the value as 1000 Kelvin in all the patches. So if you wish that you can, you want to assign the temperature value only to a particular patch, we can give that configuration accordingly as we have shown in the presentation. Okay. So that's our only major change that we are doing here. Now here we can see that one more boundary condition is there, heater to less cold. So that I'm just deleting that one. I don't want that now. Here the heater to less solid. Here we can see one more thing. See, we are adding some layers. See, we are adding some layers over here, and that's given some thickness also. That's given some thickness also. So some small layers is being added. So that means it will be a resistance. Okay, it will be a resistance to the heat transfer. So in order to show that resistance, we are adding some layers. Okay, and the conductivity for this layer is also given as 5 into 10 raised to minus 4. Okay, the thermal conductivity for this particular layer is given as 5 into 10 raised to minus 4. So that's the default value that was there in the tutorial. So that means we are just giving some layer for this resistance to the heat transfer. That means it acts as an insulation. Okay, it acts as some insulation. So just now we are not bothering about those things. So just I am just deleting all these things. So while removing, we should be careful about this braces. Okay, or else it will be producing errors. Yes. So it's done. Now moving on to the next domain, that's less solid. So in less solid, what are the boundaries that will be sharing? It will be having
Min-X,
min-x,
Min-Z, Min-Z,
min-z, yes,
Min-Y, Max-Y.
min-y and max, yes, that's it. So I am just copy pasting this one. So yeah, there's nothing that it should be aligned accordingly, but for that look only that I am just giving some tab in order to align that accordingly. So first one is min x. Then we are giving another boundary as max y. Then we have min z we have already. Then other one is min y. Okay, so now we have min x, min y, max y, and min z. Okay. So now we are moving on to give the temperature field. So here also just I am giving the 1000. Okay. So if you wish that you would really want to see this heat transfer occurring between the solid regions as well as this fluid region, you can give the value only to heater as 1000, and all the other thing can be kept as 300 Kelvin itself, and then we can run the solution. Okay, then we can run the solution, but it will take time. It needs some iterations, some more iterations will be needed. So you can wait for some time, and later on we can see that slowly this left solid, right solid, and the water cavity is getting heated up. Okay, so after a long time, this so left solid will be having the temperature mostly close to 1000 Kelvin due to its conduction. Right solid will be having also this temperature, but it will take time. Since I think we are giving this uh, uh, no, in the case of left solid only we are giving this insulation. Uh, what I am discussing about the default one that we had copied from the tutorial. In that there is some insulation provided so that it will take the transfer occurring between this water.
Sir, your audio is breaking.
There will be some. Okay. So, so now is it audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in the default one that we have taken from the tutorial, the left solid is having the insulation. So it will be taking much time for getting heated up. But with regard to the right solid, we are not specifying any insulated regions, so that easily it will be getting heated from the heat transfer between this heater and left solid, right solid. So sooner we'll be having the 1000 Kelvin. Mostly, it will be close to 1000 Kelvin in the right solid, and later the heat transfer will be occurring between this right solid and water cavity also, and slowly this left solid also will be getting heated up. So altogether, after a long iterative process, we can see a solution that at the outlet region that's most closing to this right solid region, the heat transfer rate of towards the water will be high, and there will be heat transfer in the cavity also. But comparatively, due to this insulation region that we had provided in the left solid, the heat transfer is very less comparatively. So in those regions, it will be close. The temperature of water will be close to 300 Kelvin only. So we can visualize all these things. Okay, but now we don't have that much time. That's why I'm just giving it as 1000 Kelvin everywhere. So readily, the left solid and water cavity, there will be heat transfer. Then there will be heat transfer between this heater and water cavity. Similarly, with the case of this water cavity and right solid also. So everywhere there will be heat transfer. So water is taking the heat from all these solids, and it will be flowing outwards. Okay. So now just I am deleting all the unwanted things. So we can give all the patches here as 1000 Kelvin. And left solid to dot star, that's been given as 1000 again. Yeah. Now I am just deleting all the remaining things. Yes. So that's it. So now similarly we need to edit the last one, that's right solid also. So what will be the boundary patches that should be given for this right solid?
Max S,
Max X, yes.
Min Z,
Min Z,
Min y, max y.
Min y and max y. Yes. So I'm giving us min z, max z, then min y and max y.
So there will be no max z, no sir. Only min z will be no.
Yes, only min z will be there. Yes. Min z, max x, min y and max y. Okay. So these are the 4 patches that we have. Now, while scrolling down, we can see that we have an internal field specified for the temperature. So all that need to be changed. Okay, the internal field, we need to give now the value as 1000 Kelvin. So just change that internal field uniform 300 into 1000. And then in the boundary field, we are given this all the patches. We are specifying all the patches. There also we are giving the initial value as 1000 Kelvin. And then we have this right solid to all the patches. Again, we are specifying this heat transfer is occurring between all the patches. And then just I am giving it as 1000 for all the patches. So that's it about the case of right solid. So now we can save and close that one. Now moving back to the system folder. Now we had edited all the domains. We had edited the change dictionary dict of the heater, left solid, right solid, and the water cavity. Now actually we want to run the solution, so that I am just going to the control dictionary dict. Yes, Robin.
Sir, for water cavity, we don't specify the patch like min y, max y.
No, we don't want to specify that.
Okay.
For the solid region only we are specifying that.
Okay.
So we can see that the solver that we are using is CST multi-region form, and it's starting from the latest time that we are just specifying that, because sometimes we may get this exited from the iteration in between. And then we can see that if the time is given as 0 for the start time, every time that while we are starting this iteration, it will be starting from the 0 only. Okay, so that I am just giving the starting time as latest time. So it will be starting from the latest time folder that is being created, or the latest time directory that is being created. Now the start time is given as 0.001, so it should be as such itself. So that's the time that we are specifying over there. So the initial time will be correspondingly to 0.001 second. So it's a transient case, because we know that since there will be some fluctuation in the temperature or the air cavity due to the flow, we can see some wavy forms over there. So it will be always transient, it won't be in steady flow. So that's why we are choosing this CST multi-region form, which can be used to solve this transient cases. Then we had we are specifying the end time as 100 second. Okay, so this iteration will be stopping at the 100th second. So just I am just changing that to 1000 second. I am just changing that to 1000 second. And the time increment is given as 0.001. So let it be like that itself. So every iteration, the change in time will be 0.001 second. And then I am just giving the provision for adjusting the runtime also. Then I am changing this write interval. Write interval means at every 10 second, the solution will be returned. Okay, since I am giving the end time as 1000, there will be lot of folders or the lot of IAM directories will be created like 10, 20, 30, 40, etc. till 1000. Okay, so that will be a little bit messy in our case file, and that also leads to this the file size problem also, because we are using some virtual machines. It's having only the hard disk space like 30 GB or 20 GB, etc. So if you are giving high measures and all, the file size will be high. So it's not advisable to create all these results files. So instead I am giving there as 100. Okay, so the time directories will be only the multiple of 100, so that we will be having only 10 files over there. So that's the main editing things that we are specifying over here. Okay, so all the other things that we had already mentioned while we are explaining in the case of fluid flow problem. Okay, now we can save and close this one. Now I am moving on to this water cavity or case file.
Sir, what is
Yes, yes.
this maximum diffusion number?
Can you please open that control division 1 second?
Last line.
Yeah, that's corresponding to the heat transfer that's occurring. So just we are giving the heat transfer, the diffusion number is being given over there.
Okay.
Okay. And we can see the current number also over there. Okay. So if the current number is going beyond that, if the current number is going beyond that, the solution gets stopped. So that's why we are giving it as adjustable time step also. So the time step 0.001 that we are giving is being reduced accordingly in order to adjust that current number is below 0.6.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So now we can move on to our case file. So now in our water cavity case file, just move on to water cavity case file. Now I think it's inside system. Move on to water cavity case file. Just go back. Sudesh, can you please go back? It's a folder inside the system. It's the folder inside the system. Go back to water cavity file. That's on the left side. You can see the on the left side of the system. Yes. So now we are in the case file now of the water cavity. We have zero, constant, and system over there. So just open that Aldrin file. So now we can see all the commands that we are using here. So in the top we can see the block mesh command that we had already given. Then comes the topos dictionary. We had already what we call already arranged all the cells into a group of cell sets as per the box that we have created. Then we had used the topos, the split mesh command is being given in order to split that mesh regions. Now we will be executing this change dictionary command. So before that we will be after meshing, there will be some files that will be created in the zero directory as well as the constant directory. So in the zero directory, since there are these fluid domains as well as the solid domains, some of the files it need not be necessary to be added into a solid domain. So there is a program for removing all those files called new tilde, then alpha, this epsilon, k, etc. Any such files that is present inside the solid domain will be removed. and we'll be executing the command for the change dictionary now. So we have now four domains, that is water cavity is there, heater is there, left solid is there, right solid is there. And for all these particular folders, I will be executing this change dictionary dict command so that all these values that we had specified inside this dictionary file, all the boundary values that we had specified in this change dictionary file will get executed, and it will be automatically gone to the zero directory. Okay, inside the folders that is corresponding to each domains, each subdomains. Okay, so that's what we are specifying over there. And at last, we are getting the application from the control dictionary, so that we are mentioned everything in the control dictionary dict. What is the solver that is to be used, what is the start time, and what is the time interval that we need to specify, etc. So all those things that we had specified already. Okay, so now just we are going to execute this command. So just close this one, and we can get into the terminal, into the case file. Just copy the path using Control L. Yeah, please show the patches in the heater and left solid. Go to the system and just show for heater and left solid. Yes, decompose part. Sorry, the change dictionary dict. Let's start from top.
So what was the code for running that all run file?
Dot
Dot
slash
slash all.
dot slash all.
Okay.
So, John Manuel, is it okay? And, do you want to see enter file? Yeah. Okay, then please scroll down. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Yes. Please scroll down. John, is it okay? So can we move on to next left solid? Yeah. Now we can move on to next one, left solid. Yeah, please scroll down. John, is it okay? Yeah. Okay. So now we can move on to our case file again, water cavity, and we can open a terminal by giving the path to this file. Yeah, now we can give the command as dot slash all run. A should be capital. Okay, that file name. Dot slash all run. A should be capital. Now we can type enter. So it's not inside the path. Just change the path into our case file. Paste that path that you had already copied. Control Shift V. Yeah. Now execute the command dot slash all run. So all this command that we had specified in this script file will be executed now. Okay, it will take some time. If we move on to our case file, we can see that some directories, time directories will be saved with the name 0, 100, sorry, 100, 200, etc.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, in my system, the code running has been completed and
Mm.
7 new files have been generated named log.mac,
Yes.
blockmesh,
Okay, fine.
log.changedictionary.header,
Yeah,
log.changedictionary.left solid.
yes, that will be
Sir,
created. Yes.
sir, okay.
Yes.
Uh, I think it is showing that created block mesh, created open form,
Mm.
created domain one, left solid, right solid, water cavity.
Mm, mm.
And then now it is exit. Now it is like this. That is open form. And again asking for a command. That is all the post processing creating files for parallel post processing. It is showing that.
Mm, so that means the time directory is not created. So that there will be some errors. That might be some errors that you have done.
Where
Because it will take some time for completing the solution, and we can see just move on to that the case file folder, so that you can see that there will be some time directories also. These log files are corresponding to the results that is shown to while executing that particular command. Okay, Neelish, you were discussing about some of the log files that you had obtained.
Yes, sir.
there are
That's
certain
the
log
things that is correct. Jivin, I didn't get you.
yes, yes, there is a certain 1, 2, 3. 10 log files has been created. Log, block mesh, log, change directory, log, change directory.
Yes, yes.
There is
Yeah, it will be created, and finally you can see a log directory called for Nilesh. This also will be your case. You can see a file called log.cht multi-region form.
log dot.
Y- Yes, sir. It's there.
CHT multi-region form.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
It's there.
please open that. At the bottom of that, just scroll down. Just scroll down. You can find at the bottom you can find an error.
Yes, sir. Keyword pimple dot is undefined in dictionary. FV
Yes.
Fusion.
Cannot open case directory. That is what is showing as the fatal error. Form fatal error. Cannot open case directory. Home open form ex3 process.
So that means some of the there will be some spelling mistakes.
Okay.
So just see whether you had edited that Allrun thing or not.
1 minute, sir.
So there might be some spelling mistakes. So Neelish, what was the error?
So keyword pimple is undefined in the dictionary. Last folder name is FV solution from function
Yeah.
dictionary subdictionary.
So that means while editing you had made some mistakes. That means in the system while you are creating some folder. So can I ask you one thing? Whether you had renamed this bottom water as water cavity,
Yes, sir.
whether you had renamed bottom water as water
Ye-
cavity. Oh.
Yes, sir. Yes, I've done it.
So actually it will be caused when this FE solution is absent.
So
So
FE
that's why
solution is
error
there.
message. Yeah, FE solution will be there. That's why I asked whether that will be original one or not. Because in the initial case that we have two directories for I mean, the two subdomains will be there for fluid regions. That one is for top air, and the other one was bottom water. And the bottom water will be containing all the original files. So mistakenly, if you have deleted all both these ones, it will be producing error. That's why I asked.
Okay. So I copied the FV solution file from water cavity and then placed it in the bottom water, then
Yeah,
deleted
that's
the
why it's
water
showing error.
capacity.
No. So it should not be done like that. Actually, that bottom water should not have been deleted. So what you have done is you have just replaced the original files with a duplicate one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So do one thing, just go to the tutorial, and in that heat transfer, you will be able to take the you can find the bottom water domain inside the system folder of this CST region form. So just go through that and just copy that files into your water cavity. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, Jithin. Is it okay now?
No, sir.
Did you rectify your problem? No.
In
So,
all run, I don't understand what might be the reason because I have changed the water cavity. Can you show me the all run file, sir?
yes,
So that I can.
I will show it. So the problem might be with these lines. You just check these things. Just check these things. If this is not the problem, then you need to check all the domains. Somewhere you might have misspelled.
So to rerun, I need to clear the log files.
Yeah, to rerun, you need to clear all the log files. Just type all that dot slash all clean. That's enough.
Okay, sir.
Actually, it is correct.
Hmm.
The direct all run directory it is correct.
So then that might be the problem with the folders that you had created.
Okay.
Just go through all.
Water
Actually, you need to go through. Yes, Dilin?
I found two water cavity folders that I don't know how it was created. After running the scheme, only it was created. That is, in one water cavity, there is change directory dictionary, decompose par dictionary, and uh, FE schemes and FE solution. Another one also there is
Okay.
FE solution and FE schemes.
So just see whether it's having the same spelling. Just look at the case also. Whether it is having.
One water cavity it is water space cavity. Another one is water no
uh,
space cavity.
so this water no space cavity might be the one that you had created manually, isn't it?
Okay, okay, yes, yes.
So that will be, yes, that will be having the change dictionary file and all. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I know water space
So that's
cavity is
the
the one I have created.
yes. So that will be having all these case files and all. So see, if we are naming these folders with
Ah,
these spaces, it won't be able to take that one. Okay,
okay,
so
okay,
that's what I had mentioned initially. So please don't do that. Hmm.
okay. So what
So
can
just
I do
delete
now?
the water cavity. Yes. So now what you want to do is that just delete the water cavity that's created by the system. Okay, which
That
contains only
the folder which has space should be deleted.
no, 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 no. The folder that is created by the system, which
Okay,
is
okay.
having that FE scheme and FE solution only. That folder you can delete that one and just
Okay.
rename the another folder without the space.
Okay. Without space. Okay. Okay.
Then run all clean command dot slash all clean and then
Okay.
just run this all run.
Okay. Dot slash all clean. Okay.
Yes, dot slash all clean. A should be capital letter.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Sir, I got it correct.
Yeah. Yes. So now we'll be having some time directories. So this means this 100. 100 means the corresponding values of all the domains at time 100 seconds. Okay, so similarly, those are the folders that we have now. Now just I am opening only 0, 1 because this while opening this 100 and all, there will be the files with a lot of values over there because all the internal fields will be having the values. Okay, so this I am not going to that now. I am just opening the 0 directory. See, we can see all the subdomains here. Okay, we can see all the subdomains here. We can see heater, water cavity, left solid, right solid, etc. And then suppose I am opening this folder, water cavity. See, inside the water cavity, we can see the velocity. Okay, but we didn't specify any boundary conditions over here. All these things was automatically created while executing the command. Change dictionary edit and see how these values are given, how this boundary conditions are given. So internal field was given 0.1. That's the default value that we had given for the initial condition. Then the max y, that's given the value 0. Then min x, it's given the fixed value. So that's given 0.1. Then so max y means those are the volts. Okay, max y, min y, then max z. Those are the volts. Okay. So here we can see max x. That's outlet one. So inlet outlet boundary condition is being given. And see here just we are giving us default value as 0.01. Okay, that's just a default value that is being provided. Then min y again that's a volt. Then we can see max z that's again a volt. Then we have some mapped patches also. Water cavity to left solid that's also again treated as volt. Water cavity to right solid again volt. Water cavity to see heater. Okay, so these are all the boundary conditions that we are supposed to give. Okay, these are all the boundary conditions that we are supposed to give corresponding to the velocity. Okay, but we are not specifying that, we are just specifying as dot star itself in our change dictionary dict, and this is coming automatically. Okay, so that's the importance of this change dictionary dict file. It saves our time, or it will be a tedious task to give all the boundary conditions in all the domains, because we are while we are dealing with this multi-region heat transfer case and all, there will be a lot of domains, and it will be a tedious task for us. And similarly, you can see that in the case of temperature also. The temperature field that we are giving the initial condition is 300 Kelvin. Then max phi, that's one wall. At the wall, it's given a zero gradient, 300 Kelvin. Then min x, that's our inlet that we are specifying that is a fixed value, and the water is entering at 300 Kelvin. In the case of max x, that's outlet. Again, we are specifying an outlet term. That's initial value is given as 300. Then comes the min y, max is at etc. Those are walls, and there we are assigning the initial values as 300. Now comes the mapped patches. See here, water cavity to left solid, heat transfer is occurring, and the value is assigned as 1000. Then water cavity to right solid, again there is heat transfer, the value is assigned as 1000. Then we can see water cavity to heater. Okay, so everyone will be present here, but there only in the change dictionary file, we are just specifying it as water cavity underscore to underscore dot star, and that is kept in double quotes. That's it. Okay, but that will be taking all the patches. Now, just we will be moving on to the solid region also. One solid, yeah, we can look into this heat transition. Just look at temperature. See, in the temperature, we are specifying that all the regions should be having 1000 Kelvin. That's the temperature that we are specifying. So all the patches, actually we had just given us dot star. That's it, isn't it? But all the patches are there, and all the mapped patches are also there, similar to what the boundary conditions that we had specified in our change dictionary dict. So that's how everyone is appearing over here. Now, just we can see this velocity, how this velocity boundary conditions is being given in a heater. See, it's the default values. We hadn't specified anything, isn't it? We hadn't specified anything over there, but it's given this just the default values as u, and everything is given as calculated. But we didn't specify anything over there, isn't it? And we are given a command for removing all these fields, so that we don't want to bother about these ones. It will be automatically removed, and it won't be taken while calculating the solutions at all. Okay. So that's it. Now we have a result file that's also been returned. The file name is called .a.form. Yes, Nilesh.
So we are getting the values in the zero folder because we specified the time 0.01.
Yes, yes.
If the time would have been zero, then we would not have got any values in the zero folder.
No. The values that if we are giving zero, the corresponding zero value will be there in the folder. If you are giving the value 10, the corresponding 10 will be there in the folder. That's it.
Okay.
Zero also it's a value, isn't it?
Yes, but it's initially at matlab, no time, so then it should be showing 000 for every aspect, right?
No. That's the initial condition that we are giving. It doesn't mean that it's a time zero. Okay. So,
Okay.
yeah, you were asking about the time that we are given the control dictionary, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
We mentioned
yeah,
that
okay.
0.001, na?
Yes, yes. So, in the control dictionary, that means the first iteration, the time corresponding that first iteration should be 0.001. So, that will be
Yes, sir.
taking accordingly. But the zero folder means all the boundary conditions and initial conditions. So that means while it is about to start, what is the condition that we are giving? Okay, so that
Okay.
will be the corresponding time to zero, isn't it?
Oh, oh, yes, yes, yes.
So now, so now we had obtained a file called a.form. Now we will be opening that file using Paraview so that we can visualize what all things are there. Okay. So just I am taking the terminal. I'm just opening that file. And just we can see our geometries in the domain. I'm using the VTK blocks in order to visualize our domains. So these are our domains. The green one is water cavity, yellow is our left solid, red is the heater, and blue one is the right solid. Okay. So now we are just taking a section so that I'm taking a slice over here, and I'm just slicing this plane by keeping y-axis normal. So now the plane normal to y-axis is being created, and just click on apply, where I can see a slice. Now I just want to see that water cavity alone. Okay, I just want to see the water cavity alone. So what I am doing is that just scroll down to the this property tab, and you can see one internal measure over there. Yeah, before that you should select that result at a.form. Okay, you should select a.form, then only you will be able to visible. Yeah, here you can see that internal meshed regions. So first of all, what we will be doing is that we will be clicking onto this meshed regions so that all will be selected, and just click once again. So all will be deselected. And now I want to select only the internal mesh of water cavity. Okay, so we won't be able to scroll down if you are using the virtual box. So that what I am doing is that I will be clicking on somewhere else inside that particular box, and you just click, check and unselect. Then you can use the down arrow key. Okay, just you can use the down arrow key. Yeah, now we can see the water cavity internal mesh. So this is the water cavity internal mesh. So that I am just clicking on that only. So now we will be able to see only the water cavity. Okay, now we'll be able to see only the water cavity. Now I am just giving the time as the latest one. That's a 10. If we are giving the value 10, that means the corresponding to the 10th folder. That means the time directory 1000 will be taken. Okay. Now altogether we have 10 folders, including the zero time directory. So just I am giving the value 10 over here, so that the 1000 uh, the value, the time directory corresponding to 1000 second, all the result files in present inside that will be taken. So just give all the, and now coming back to slice. Now I want to visualize the temperature, and to visualize the temperature, and I just don't want this plane. So I am just hiding this slicing plane over there. And now I am rescaling this one. Okay, I am just rescaling this one. And one more thing I am going to do is that I am just editing the color map to change this red blue combination. So I hope that you might have come across with these things in last day session. So I'm just giving it as jet. So it will be having more number of colors. That's why I'm choosing that one. Um, I'm just closing this color map editor now. Now that's it. So now you can see that there is some heat transfer is occurring, isn't it? Some heat transfer is occurring between this uh, the right solid and water cavity, and we can see that mostly the temperature inside this cavity is very high. So some of the water might be taken by this flowing one. So it's getting trapped over here since the velocity is very low. Okay. So that's it. But we'll be getting more clear result if we are increasing the number of elements. Okay, if we are increasing the number of elements, we might be getting more clear result. So that we want to edit in the block mesh. But keep in mind that there won't be any elements that is being shared with the different cell sets. So accordingly, we can increase the number of elements over there. And now we can just calculate what is the average temperature over here. Okay, we can just calculate what is the average temperature in this particular patch. So while I was taking this session on incompressible fluid flow in a pipe, someone was asking me how we can calculate this plane, because at that time I think I was showing that result file that we had obtained. So that will be consisting of a single file with many values corresponding to that internal field. So someone was asking me like, uh, do we be able to get the values for a particular patch or particular plane? Can we take a value from that particular folder? So let's see how we can take that one. We cannot take that one from that particular patch because, to my knowledge, okay, to my knowledge, that was the answer that I had given at that time. Because I don't know whether it is arranged according to the number of the field number starting from zero. I don't know that. And it's quite impossible for us to locate that one also because there will be a lot of elements will be there. More than 5 or 10 lakhs elements will be there at some cases. So it's quite difficult for us. So what we are doing is that we will be creating a plane over using this paraview. Okay, and we will be taking the average values that you want to get in that particular plane. Okay, let's see how we can calculate those values. Yeah. Now, just move on to filters. Okay, just move on to filters, and we can see that in uh, statistics, I think, in stat, no, material data analysis integral. Yeah, it might have gone to the recent one. Yeah, now it's present in the integrate variable system. Yeah, this drop-down box is having a problem. Actually, yeah, it is supposed to be present inside this alphabetical. Okay, it is supposed to be present inside the alphabetical. And it is, I think it's supposed to be present inside the data analysis also. This integral variables. Okay, the term integral variables is supposed to be present inside the group, this data analysis also. But if we take it once, then it will be moving on to the recent folder. And sometimes it will won't be visible in the alphabetical also. So there is some problem with that. Okay. So sometimes we can take from the tab that we can see in the case of this contour, slice, etc. and at times it may not be active if we are going to the alphabetical. Okay, so there is some problem with that. So since I had already used this one, it's present inside the result, and I cannot find that somewhere else. So for you people, I don't think that that will be there in the result. So just go to data analysis and just see whether this integrate variable is present or not. Okay, just go to data analysis and just see whether integrate variables is present or not. Okay, for me it's present in result. So this one, integrate variables. Okay. So now I am just clicking on that and then just click apply. Yeah. Now we can see a window is coming now. So we can see over here the default one will be point data. So change that into cell data. Okay, change that into cell data. Now we can see the area of the section that we have taken. Okay, we can see the area of section that we have taken. So that is 110. Okay, 110 is the area of the section that we have taken. And since we have integrated the values, it's the sum. Okay, it's the sum of the value that we are getting. So total, it's been integrated now. So the total temperature is 33,007. Okay, the total temperature while integrating through all the cell data, the temperature that we are getting is 33,007.7 Kelvin. Now we have the area, that's 110. So just divide that one. Okay, that means 33,007.7 Kelvin divided by 110. Okay, just see what's the value. 33,007.7 by 110. So it's just 300.07 Kelvin. Okay, 300.07 Kelvin. So that's the average value that we are getting. Okay, so that's the average temperature. That's the average temperature that we are getting now. So thus we'll be able to calculate all the values. Okay, thus we'll be able to calculate all the values. So that's it about the post-processing part. This is how we'll be calculating the values for the planes that or planes where we want to know these parameters. Okay.
So I'm getting only the first 12 facts, like till the T's temperature only.
Nilesh, it's not clear. The voice is not clear.
Sir, I'm getting the cells only till the temperature. The rest are not available, like B, rho minus RGH, those are not
So
available.
did you change this one? Did you change here the time
Yes,
step?
sir. Yes, sir. In fact, that also, that color is not certain, like, the color of the temperature is also not uniform.
Oh, how many time directories you had got now?
I mentioned 10 something.
Can you please share your screen?
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, I am logged in with my cell phone.
Oh, okay. Then do one thing. Just switch on the camera and show me. You can change the front camera to back camera. Okay, you can change the front camera to back camera and just. Yeah, it's 10. Then just do rescaling that one. Just rescale. Yeah, the area is there. Cell type is there. Yeah, you can see the temperature, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Temperature is there. After that, nothing is there. After temperature.
Oh, okay, okay, fine, fine.
And sir, in this one also no color is visible. The temperature change difference is not visible.
Yeah, so that means there is some problem in the case file somewhere in the result because the other result parameters are not able to get.
Okay.
Okay, I think there is some problem with that. So just minimize that in paraview.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just open any folder. Let it be 100. Just open that. Then open this water cavity folder. Then open for U. Open the file U. Yeah, actually it's been run. You can see the values over there.
Yes, sir. Values are there in all the folders.
Mm, mm, mm. So just execute the command touch a file name dot form. Try for a different file name. Okay, inside that case file. Now you want to close the paraview. Okay, then just try to create
E
some other result file.
C
Okay.
touch. So one more file is available here. Log dot
Yeah.
block mesh.
No, that doesn't matter. Never mind that one. So this is the new file you had created, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Now just take a slice. Why normal? Yes.
Temperature.
Yeah.
So now it's there.
Yes.
Now it's coming.
Yes. Yes. So that might be the problem with the writing the file. That might be.
Okay,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. So that's it about the heat transfer part. I hope that you had enjoyed the heat transfer solving, but it's not that easy as compared to that incompressible flow problem that we had done using the pipe. Okay, there are a lot of things that we need to consider while running this problem, and by careless mistakes, you can produce many mistakes, and mostly we won't be in a position to identify what is that mistake or where that is occurring. So that's also another problem here because everywhere there is this folders named subdomains are there. So that's a problem over here. And now, if you have any doubts regarding this, you can ask me now.
Sir, what will be the normal checkpoints like once we run? How which is there any specific steps which we needs to follow us like to check? Like as you said, if we open Sierra folder and check the boundary conditions for boundary conditions, we can check
Yes,
one by one. I think like that.
yes, yes. So actually, we need to follow the method or the steps that we had followed for creating the entire case in the backward direction. Okay. That means
Okay.
while discussing about this heat transfer problem, the first command that I had executed was block mesh. Then second
Okay.
I had created topposite. Then split mesh region, and finally I had created this boundary cases. Okay. So while running the solution, now suppose the error is produced while running the solution, then it's a high chance that this particular error is produced either due to the boundary conditions that you had given. That's a high
Okay.
chance. So this
Mhm.
error might be produced in the change dictionary file only, because we are not doing anything with the zero directory. So mostly that error will be lying in the I mean the change dictionary file. So that will be inside the system. So that's the first
Okay.
place that we want to look into. So there are a lot of chances. One was in the case of Jidin. See, he had misspelled that one. So
Okay.
that while executing the command, it will be creating again. So there will be some n number of chances, but if we are thorough about all the process that we are doing, then we will be in a position to analyze that in the reverse manner.
Okay.
Okay. So suppose in the change dictionary file, there is nothing problem with that. Everything is seem to be perfect. Then
Okay.
there is a chance that we had given the fluid domains and the solid domains in the region file. The region property file was there inside the consent folder. So there
Okay.
is a chance that we might have ignored some domains over there. Okay, so that it won't be taking that particular domain. So there is a
Mhm.
chance over there also. And at times there will be a chance if we are using the control dictionary file. Suppose we are giving the control dictionary file, the solver name is as the CST multi-region symbol form. And then we are having all the solvers, I mean the solutions, sorry, the solution schemes and this FE solutions for particular solver called CST multi-region form. Both is for different things. Actually, CST multi-region is solving PISO, and that's for the transient case. And the other one, the symbol form is for the case of steady flow. So that means the solution schemes will not get matched. So that will also be producing errors. So what all editing that we had done while doing the case file, that we need to think in the reverse order. Okay,
Okay.
earlier while we are doing the split mesh region, isn't it?
Is it better we open the
And that
log
was the
files?
case create.
Yeah.
If you are executing the script file, if you are executing the script file, all these commands will be shown as a log file, and we can see all the result over there. So
Okay.
we need to check that log files. That's what I was trying to tell that. So that should be started with the latest one. Okay,
Understand.
that should start from the latest one. And we can, while logging onto that particular file, we can see the symptoms of running that one. Okay, that means if the error is produced with the case of boundary conditions and all, then obviously the CST multi-region form log file will be showing some of the symptoms that it had tried to run. Okay,
Okay.
then we
Okay.
need
Okay.
to just confirm that. We need to just confirm that also, so that we need to go back to that previously created log file. That should be the split mesh regions. That should be the
Mhm.
split mesh region. So just open that log file and see whether that is executed correctly or not. So
Okay.
if that is
Okay.
executed correctly, that means obviously the problem is with the solution part.
Okay.
Okay. So likewise, we want to check it one by one. So
Sir, this,
after some time, you will be an expert to tell, oh, that might be the problem. So that by
okay.
hands-on experience only you will be able to come to that. So that's the main problem with this open form also. Because if
Mhm.
we are looking for answers and all, it's having graphical user interface, and almost everywhere we are having some provision for this drop-down window or for selecting the properties. Everything is there. So just we can
Mhm.
see whether we had unchecked any portion or not. So by
Okay. Okay.
looking at that particular video itself, we will be able to know. But in this particular thing, if it's producing error, then it's not easy to rectify it by our own if we don't know that.
Okay.
That's the
Okay.
main drawback. Any more?
In case, one more thing, sir. See, basically, if in case of errors, basically we have to, if it runs without any errors, basically, but to cross
Yes.
check whether we have given all parameters like boundary conditions or other parameters as correct. Is there like,
Mm.
is it better we open ParaView and see one by one and see whether everything is uh,
Yes.
coming correct? That may be the better
Yes.
way,
It's
right?
yes. 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 It's better to visualize that one because already it's quite easy if we can see the values, isn't it? So that we can
Uh,
rectify all the things. But while just seeing the boundary values or the coordinates, it may not be that easy for us to visualize that. So
okay,
the easiest method is visualizing using the paraview.
okay, okay,
You can use paraview to visualize all the entire process. After creating block mesh, you can go to paraview and just see whether it is created or not. Then after
okay,
that split mesh regions again, you can go. So like this, step by step, you can visualize that.
okay.
So any more doubts?
So for the fluid flow we
Yes.
did till now, in
Yes.
that if we need to check for aerodynamics, then we need to
Mm.
create the mesh outside the object and do the
Yes.
process as we did.
For the case of that snappy.
Yes, sir.
Yes. That we need to adopt that one, and all the boundary patches should be named accordingly. That means the block mesh will be the boundaries
Yes, sir.
in the
Block
case of
mesh will be the
aerodynamics.
boundary.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
So we
sir.
need to name accordingly. So now, if you don't have any doubts, we can wind up. And in the afternoon, just I will be showing some regarding this uh, structural analysis. Okay. Just I'll be giving a brief about the structural analysis. That's an addition. It's not what we had planned. Actually, since we had taken sessions in the afternoon also, that's why we were able to complete it smoothly. Or else it may not be like this. If you are going to just discussion alone in the afternoon session, uh, we won't be able to complete that in this time. So now we have one more session in the afternoon. So I just think about showing a presentation on the structural analysis. Okay. So we won't be doing that hands-on. Just I will show that presentation and just a brief idea on this structural analysis. Okay. And then we can wind up the session. Okay. So shall we wind up for now?